Peggy 18.
Welcome to your life. There's no turning back. Even while we sleep, we will find you acting on your best behavior. Turn your back on Mother Nature. Everybody wants to rule the world. Help me to decide. Help me make the most of freedom and of pleasure. Nothing ever lasts forever. So sad we had to fade it. Everybody wants There's a room where the light won't find you. When they do, I'll be right behind you. The world.
Hello, my name is Alex Amancio, Creative Director for AssAss-ins Creed Unity. With a redesigned new game engine and some revolutionary thinking from our engineering and design teams, we've created an experience materially different from anything we've designed before. With Unity, we've raised the bar in terms of how we build worlds and how you interact with them. Unity is a truly immersive experience, revolutionized by new-gen technologies that affect the user's experience at its core. Welcome to Paris at the height of the French Revolution. When you enter here, you'll see what our new Anvil game engine has made possible. It's in the light and in the shadows. It's even in the air. Advanced reflection mapping, HDR graphics, and volumetric lighting and fog fill each scene with drama and intensity. We've built Paris's iconic landmarks for you to explore. At a scale of nearly 1-to-1, these immense structures are not facades. Each is a fully realized creation, a world unto itself. Amongst them is Notre Dame de Paris, a triumph of digital architecture that required a full year to design. These seamless exteriors and interiors are massive, yet intricately detailed. And our next-gen engine brings non-player characters alive in a way never before possible. You'll interact with thousands of Paris's inhabitants, from kings to paupers, each rendered with startling realism and each alive in their own way. These crowds can provide you with valuable cover as you explore the city. But beware, even non-player characters have minds of their own and may not behave as you expect them to. Because of the Anvil technology at the heart of the Unity experience, things not only look different, they feel different. Unity introduces a new breed of master assassin, more responsive, agile, and lethal than its predecessors. A redesigned warrior ready to take on a redesigned universe. You'll find improved flexibility in the parkour experience, allowing you to select different paths on the fly in all 3 dimensions. And we've upgraded the control mechanics for more fluid interaction. Unity brings you deeper stealth mechanics as well, unleashing an array of new prey, kill, and disappear strategies. Your fighting skills are refined, creating a more nuanced combat experience as you battle enemies emboldened by advanced AI. With parry, dodge, and attack, you'll find each encounter a more accurate test of your abilities. Unity challenges you to survive in a daunting and violent world, treacherous and bloody, but you need not enter it alone. Now you and 3 of your friends can band together in a shared experience, each playing a part in one of history's most dangerous chapters. A radical new game engine, next-generation hardware, and a massive design team combine in a visceral and unforgettable encounter with history.
Assassin's Creed Unity promises you a whole new experience, set in a world of cinematic scope and enhanced reality, unlocking a new era of gaming.
We invite you to join us here.
Poor France is ill, and our city is a wound, inflamed by all efforts to heal her. A king once ruled, headstrong and corrupt, now headless and a corpse, murdered by men just as vile. Today, fanatics from all sides spill blood on every corner. 1,000 terrors I mean to cure, day by day, street by street, Templar by Templar.
Hello, my name is Alex Amancio, and I'm the creative director of Assassin's Creed Unity. Welcome to the streets of Paris, the most beautiful city in the world, in the throes of a bloody revolution. Atop the Notre Dame, our hero, Arnaud, surveys the scene. Let's make our way down using controlled descent, one of the new additions to navigation in ACU. We have completely overhauled navigation, allowing you to plan and execute exactly where you want to go. Essentially, you don't have to look for a haystack to get to street level anymore. This massive crowd is gathered in front of Notre Dame because clergy is being dragged out. Players can choose whether they want to get involved or not, save the clergy, which will attract attention, or let them be murdered and stay hidden. The choice is yours.
I think the guards can handle these rogues. My target may be on the move.
As you can see, the city is completely alive, with inhabitants going about their business, getting robbed, or investigating curious events. You will need to learn how to read the crowd in order to get a read on possible gameplay activities. For example, the crowd looking inside the building is curious about a recent murder. This is a cue for one of our murder mystery missions. Let's take a look inside the building, seamlessly, for the first time ever.
Bear up, madame. I will return to see justice done.
We'll add this mission to our quest log and keep moving towards our target. Remember, Paris is in the midst of a revolution, and systemic fights can break out at any moment. As you can see, the people are taking the fight to the aggressors, the enemy faction in ACU.
Here's the spot. If I'm not too late, I'll catch Captain Xavier at his dinner.
Our target is in a social club, one of the new types of locations in ACU. We'll need to make our way inside. Let's use a direct approach. Combat is much more challenging in ACU, and players will have to make good use of their wit, tools, and new combat moves. Among these, you will see the parry, dodge, tackle, and heavy attack. Before entering the building, let's use Eagle Pulse to plan our approach and see what's waiting for us inside. You can enter many buildings in Paris, which makes for countless new gameplay situations.
The machine, you mean?
Let's switch to stealth mode and try a non-lethal approach.
You skittish.
For the first time in Assassin's Creed, we have a dedicated stealth mode, triggered at the press of a button.
If the Jacobins don't act quick, it's their own knives.
Stealth mode makes you harder to detect and allows you to circumnavigate enemies by using a cover-to-cover approach. Our target is hiding away on the 3rd floor. Let's get to him.
It wasn't me. I'm not the man you had.
Where is he?
Palais de Justice, the executions.
Good. You should leave this place.
Merci, monsieur. Merci. Merci.
It seems our target isn't here. Let's make our way to the Palais de Justice and track him down. You can see the unique skyline of Paris, as well as the one-to-one scale of the city, which gives navigation a completely new feeling. To support the assassin advantage on rooftops, we've added the high ground feature, letting us quickly and seamlessly see the gameplay opportunities around us. Taverns are social hubs of a kind, offering a variety of options to players, such as shopkeepers and join-in-progress opportunities for co-op missions. Food was becoming scarce at this stage of the revolution, and these people are arguing over grain. We could get involved, but we'll go past it for today. This street is blocked by aggressors, the enemy faction. We can't fight them because that will attract protectors, and we aren't quite strong enough to fight them off yet. We'll avoid these for now by parkouring up this wall. This massive crowd has gathered to watch the public executions by the guillotine down the street. To find our target, we'll use Eagle Pulse, a limited skill right now, as we haven't unlocked the full power yet. Our target, Captain Xavier, is making his way to the guillotine stand to start the executions. As an assassin, we are the blade in the crowd. We have a lot of ways we could kill our target. We can use the Phantom Blade, the new assassin's signature weapon. We could use a stun bomb on the guards. Or we could use the new disguise skill and walk right up to him. In this case, let's send a message to the Templars and make this execution as public as we can.
something really next gen because we knew we had a couple of years ahead of us, so we tackled the technology to begin with.
So we looked at all kinds of ways to make sure that we could deliver that massive amount of detail and to get a really rich experience. So we looked at how we build the cities, we looked at how we animate our characters, how the programmers deal with a huge code base, and we made major improvements in all of those areas.
The fun part is using the power in the right way and trying to not only increase the numbers, but how much you can overhaul the experience, how much you can refresh it. How can we take the core values of Assassin's Creed, now that we have all this power, what can we improve beyond just adding more of everything?
So obviously next gen, I mean, you have the chance to really do a totally new pass at graphic and have that wow moment. And I really think that we're at that point with AC Unity.
The look of Assassin's Creed is about something that we want to make it look real and believable, and at the same time bring some personality to it. So we don't want to do something that's as real as a touristic photo, but more something close to a movie where it has this very believable and realistic signature, but at the same time has some persona, some style, some uniqueness to it.
Like for the environment, we had amazing open world. It looked really great in the sunshine, but in the shadow it was kind of flat, it lacked contrast. And we looked at physically based rendering that tries to mimic our environment and how light really works in the world. And we brought that, and we have enough power now to bring that to the consoles.
So for ACU, we decided to invest a lot in lighting. One of the main subjects that we attacked is GI, global illumination, which also includes sky occlusion. GI is basically light bouncing all over the place, mostly from the directional light, which is the sun, but also from local lights. So if I bring up the cloud, this is all, well, I'm showing you as a step-by-step process, but it's fully dynamic in game. It adapts and it works with rain. It will bring weather dynamically, and it will also affect the ground level. So the more sky coverage I get, the more shadowing I get from the sky, but less lighting bounce also, less sun bounce. So it affects the GI, it affects everything. Everything is related. It's unified.
In terms of the atmosphere, it's reflected through a very moody and atmospheric ambience. So you see smoke, you see dust, you see fog, mist. So this helps to fit with the context of the French Revolution, the urban context, but also helps to give it some very unique look.
On the weather side, we basically took everything that was done on previous ACs, which were quite amazing, and we pushed it up a notch. Like you have now materials that become wetter and you see puddles forming. It's really amazing visuals there.
We feel that we're finally closing in the gap on the movie industry, the cinema look and feel. We have these controls for the lenses, for the depth of field, for the different, like I said, lighting, VFX.
So the world looks completely next gen. I mean, we were never even close to achieving this in any other AC game. Plus, we do it in an open world of that size with seamless interiors with no loading anytime, right? So that was the first breakthrough.
Not only are we just once again building an entire setting from the ground up, but now we're going back to the urban settings. As Paris during the 18th century, Paris was already a big place. It's the largest city we've ever recreated.
Just to give you a sense of scale, Paris is about the size of the entire frontier in AC3, but it's highly densely populated urban area.
Traditionally, level designers actually place each house by hand, one after the other. And I mean, to do this on a semi-real scale of Paris is just insane. It wouldn't scale at all.
So we built a tool called Paris Pâté to procedurally generate the streets of Paris and all the different districts.
The house block generator permits the city designers to do quicker layouts than previously. Before, it was something that was very tedious and hard to change, and now the tool permits more flexibility. So we have a tool, and we can draw a sort of street shape. And on this shape, we can assign a theme. And within this theme, you'll have all the houses contained for a specific district. So the houses are cyclable, the roofs are cyclable. So you can see that with Paris Pâté or the house block generator, you can see that it's easy for the city designer to say, okay, I'm having trouble running along this roof, so I can lower the roof to make the parkour easier.
So we created Lego blocks for the different type of neighborhoods that we have, a more rich, a more cultural, a poor neighborhood. And this tool populates the streets with all of these Lego blocks to create a unique Paris that we'll be able to navigate and go through as Arnaud in the main story.
And this basically allowed the level designers to get the city up and running really, really quickly at a really high quality level that we only usually get at the end of the project. So we were able to get a sense of the city really quickly. But we didn't stop at the environments. I mean, we looked at the characters. We looked at everything from hair, cloth, eyes, skin, character performance. And we did a lot of work on scanning actors and getting a lot of detail, getting emotions, and getting interesting animation rigs from actors. Because, I mean, just having the world being photorealistic is nice, but we have to populate it, and that's where it really comes alive.
We made a couple of improvements on character rendering, the quality, making sure that it looks more realistic and believable. So the skin, the eyes, the hair, and as well as to make sure that everything is still easy to create and is flexible. So if you look at this guy here, without skin shader, you'll notice that he looks a lot like a rock. You can see that it's very grayish, doesn't look alive. But with skin shader, you see that there's blood running through. You can also sense the detail in the pores. So that's one of the things that we did to make sure that the characters look more alive and believable. The other thing we made sure that would look realistic and believable is the cloth itself. And so every artist are basically fashion designers. They create the pattern that you see here, and then a physics simulation is applied, so you can really sense the weight of every fold, and once it's integrated into engine, it looks like this.
The more realistic we make characters, the more pressure it puts on animation, because a realistic character that moves in a optimized animation type of way looks like a zombie.
This is just a preview of what we do with our rigs and what we get for facial animation for cinematics. This is our engine right here, and this is Motion Builder, which is where we tweak all facial animation curves. And all this is actually real time. So at any frame, you could see that we could actually change the mouth corners, actual little things if we want on the face. You see that we do have a lot of control over every part of the face, just to make sure we get all the expressions that we need.
So the quality of the character, the main character, especially in AC, is driven by programmers traditionally and animators that work together. but they work really in separate worlds. The animators, like they basically work the animation and stuff, but they were very dependent on the programmers to integrate the animations. Basically, you had a programmer that had to enter a line of code before the animator could see what he was doing.
Kino is a node-based behavior tool that was developed for AssAss-ins Creed Unity to help us with rapid prototyping animations. It allows animators to not only build animations, but to also implement them and integrate them into the game themselves. Our animators are able to both develop the animation, and because they are able to put them into the game themselves, they know how the behaviors and the flow work in the game, and they're much more efficient because of it.
So we put a lot of effort into not only into animation variety, so the actual quality, but then the variety of animation, and then the AI. It puts a lot of pressure on AI. What are these people doing?
So what we're trying to do with the crowds this time on AssAss-ins Creed Unity is, one, we want to have a lot more crowds than we've ever had on any of our previous games. So right now, for example, in our Paris map, we have over 30,000 crowd characters that are loaded just in that one map.
We need to have enough people with believable animations, believable life. They have to have a meaning in the city. They just can't be bystanders anymore.
So we really want all of our crowds to be aware of their surroundings, about what the player just did, about what the other NPCs are doing in the game. So really a big focus on interaction. So you'll see characters that see each other in the street, they wave to each other, they'll stop. There's 20 to 30 different variations of these. Sometimes it's women stopping other women, gossiping in the street. Sometimes it's couples that see each other. Like over here, you see a romantic interaction that's going on. Here, if I take this guy also as an example, we have our new mood system. So here you'll see he's in a neutral mood pose, but change his mood at any point. Here he's confused, curious. What this means is not only just for our static crowds, but for our moving crowds as well. We could set a certain percentage of people based off of the mission, of how many people are happy, how many people are stressed, how many people are angry.
So by having this possibility for the crowd, having so many people, we're able to have these conflicts within the streets, to have massive amount of people fill up these key places like in front of Notre Dame and addressing the situation and addressing being able to revolt. And it's the first time that we'll have the assassin walk through this.
So now you have lots of NPCs, but you can actually go within those crowds and interact. It changes the experience, and I think when you put all of those pieces together, it's going to really just be amazing. So we get about 10 times more animation, 10 times more polygons, 10 times the size of the number of pixels in our textures. So we had to think about how we deal with that amount of data without basically having our own engine, the whole engine crumble.
What's really hard is that we're working on a 24-hour cycle. There's always someone programming something or checking stuff, so making sure that it's hard to make sure that we're not breaking the other people's work because we've checked in something at 4 in the morning.
We've worked really, really hard to make sure that the flow from getting your data okay in the editor to the console and to even our partners in Bucharest, for example, in the studios all over the world is really, really short. So now cooking the data is much, much shorter. We're within 5 minutes of generating the full city with 10 times more data that we had for next gen.
What I want to succeed at with ACU is making sure that not only we have the best graphics, but that we have a systemic game and that we have an AC that really feels, looks and feels like a refreshed experience. I want people to go crazy all over again with being an assassin and playing that fantasy, and hopefully with friends. And that's the big takeaways that I want people to have from ACU.
Because of a tragic event in his life, Arnaud was essentially raised by a Templar Grand Master.
Working in the Assassin-Templar conflict into the revolution, that's actually pretty challenging. In the French Revolution, it's like, well, whose side do you want to be on? There's kind of the crazy people who want to chop everybody's heads off, and then there's the slightly less crazy people who want to chop most people's heads off.
You get a real good exposition of both the Assassins and the Templars and how both of these factions at one point could have prevented a lot of the bad things that happened in the French Revolution if they had just joined together. But because of these ideals, this fanaticism, it actually keeps them spread apart, and it actually doesn't help the people. We had really, I think, shook the foundations of the industry with AC1 when we introduced, gorgeous looking game with these open world cities, seamless, no loading, and we've done pretty much what we can do with the last generation. Right, we've taken both consoles to pretty much their breaking limit.
So the initial project goal for ACU, and the name spoils it a little bit, it was to create the first fully and next-gen Assassin's Creed by blurring the lines between like single-player, multiplayer, co-op, and the purely online element of more social games.
So narrative works when you're motivating the player on a very linear story, but when you create a rich open world with all these different activities, it needs to be more. We wanted to create a city that not only is super detailed, large and beautiful, but we wanted to have depth to that city. We wanted it to be full of characters, full of NPCs, full of activities, and full of rewards. And we wanted to let the player loose in that universe and really let them explore and find that stuff on their own.
I love being able to create brand new experiences that leverage the new hardware, and so doing that on Assassin's Creed 1 was really exciting because we didn't even have dev kits really, and we not only were creating a new IP for this new hardware that we didn't really know or understand yet, we were also building a brand new engine, which ended up being an engine that's used throughout Ubisoft on a bunch of games. And our focus was really, what can we do on this hardware to change the gameplay experience for players? What can we do that's never been done before?
AC was built as a single player experience, most and foremost. So what we had to do is to make sure that because we're building a sandbox and an open world game, we needed to make sure to onlineize all of our different features, and we have hundreds of them.
When you're on a mission, we tend to control a lot. This is the opposite philosophy of what we did with Unity. The idea was to create a large, living, breathing, systemic city, let you manipulate that city, and then embrace that sandbox nature, even in missions.
We've reimagined all three main pillars. First one being navigation. So parkour will give the players more abilities than before. Control over going up or going down, and precisely selecting where players want to go. We've reimagined the combat pillar altogether as well. I guess the fight system is a little bit harder than before, and that's also done on purpose to support the third pillar, which is stealth. So altogether, these three pillars, they come together and they form the core gameplay loop of our game.
It was the great time to do the same types of bets that we did on AC1 for a new generation change. So we looked at all of our workflow and we made sure that we could iterate as fast as possible. So we were able to focus on multiplayer afterwards, and on top of that, obviously, we were able to do a big push on graphics to get a totally new experience.
But we really wanted to focus on something that would take us back to the core of Assassin's Creed. So going back to a large, sprawling urban center. So we asked ourselves, if we were to go back to that route, what would be the perfect setting to showcase next generation hardware? Well, Paris is the most visited city in the world. It's literally, teeming with monuments. You can't turn a street corner without running into some sort of landmark. And then the period of French Revolution was a period of really of upheaval with hundreds of thousands of people taking the streets. So we're like, well, the crowd, social stealth, is one of the core pillars of the brand. The large sprawling urban areas is another core pillar of the brand. So why not bring that all together and create a game set in that unique setting? So this is sort of how it converged.
So you've got all the landmarks in, and these landmarks are incredibly huge. Like they're close to 1-to-1 scale. So it really feels like you're in Paris.
If the city has literally tens of thousands of buildings, and if you can go into one in every 4 buildings, every building is a potential story. Every building is a potential reward. And you really start getting a sense that the world is no longer a movie set. It feels like an actual world. The other thing we did is when you say French Revolution, well, there's the word revolution, that's more than a dozen people screaming, right? So you need to have large crowds. So we're up to about, I think, 5,000 NPCs on screen right now. And those NPCs, I'm not talking about like just people, like random animations. These are interactive. So if you, for example, you do something that will startle them, like shoot a gun in the air and they're right next to you, they will bail, they will run away. So having 5,000 characters on screen just running away is a feat unto itself, but it's something that we've been working on for a very long time.
So suddenly we're in a big open world and a huge city. So the idea is to create opportunities for people to come together and have fun things to do in co-op. We're supporting 4-player co-op, and we have tons of content. There's single-player content, there's co-op content, and also players can just explore the city together and experience Paris together, which is really exciting.
Our goal was to unify what we were doing separately, which was multiplayer and our strong single-player experience into one single game. That's why we needed to build the right team and then really take our time to do that. We had a studio in Annecy, we had a studio in Singapore, a studio in Quebec City as well. This year around, we're still working with these major studios. We've added Toronto to our list of partners this year.
So we knew that Assassin's Creed Unity was looking for partners. They were in pre-production at the time, and basically Vince came over with a couple of other people and said, hey, this is where we think you guys can help us.
Our role on AC Unity was bringing that knowledge of creating good co-op maps and co-op gameplay and applying that to the Assassin's Creed universe.
In the past, we've worked on co-op, but it was within a much smaller scope in terms of the size of the world, something that we call like broad linear level design, where you do have opportunities to branch off and do different things, but within a very confined space.
We really wanted to steer away from that. So what we think is, if you make the world challenging enough, if you make the opportunities be easier or more logical to perform by multiple players, if you then give those players complementary skills, people will naturally play co-op.
So you have to really keep that in mind and make sure that you design for every possible approach and for every possible play style. Some players might be more action-oriented. You need to make sure that the fights on the ground are good and that the difficulty is balanced appropriately to encourage co-op.
Back in, I think around October, I started talking to Vince about how, Toronto, since we're working on co-op and we know that they would probably need a co-op demo for E3, I said, hey, Toronto wants to get involved.
Doing demos is always taxing, but as I said, it's part of the process. We have to do it, we want to do it.
The way game development is done on this project is Montreal's in charge of all of the technology, all of the tools, all of the features, or most of the features. And specifically for the demo, we're kind of building the top parts of the layers of the content. So we're building, the city, the levels, the mission, everything that kind of sits on top of the foundation of the technology and the features. So we have to work together.
Ultimately, it's a good win for the team, and once we have it, we have a cool benchmark. And then we can say, remember the E3 demo or the other demo? Well, that's the kind of quality we need to hit for the rest of the game.
What we talked about with the team was E3 is going to be a great opportunity for us to take something to final, take something to polish, and be able to know what that process is and understand how to work together and get there.
For our E3 demo, we wanted something that would be very impactful in a short period of time. We're going to be up there on stage for 5 minutes, and we want people to understand the conflict, to feel the energy, and to understand the gameplay progression as well.
So Alex challenged us, to tell the story of the French Revolution, the macro story of the peasant and the noble battle, framed up within this mission. We were going to set up the conflict between the classes, that really defines the French Revolution.
In the French Revolution, today's extremists were tomorrow's moderates, and the next day they were dead. And this is what happened throughout the whole thing, right? So this lent itself really well to that sort of who is right, what is freedom, what is control, right? And that sort of shifts.
So the idea was to really tell the story of what it's like to be a noble, thrust into the hands of insanely violent and angry peasants. We're going to have to do that first person. And AC is not a first person game, so it's really a jolting experience.
So we decided very early on to go with a very classic conflict from the French Revolution, which was the people versus nobility. And we set the map, the mission, around the bread riots that broke out early in the French Revolution.
So you're going to see streets that are full of chaos and under pressure, and that really represents the population that we're wading through and that we're climbing over. What the player's going to experience is they're going to see the difference between the social classes in terms of outside it's chaos, there's barricades everywhere, things are upheaved. You go inside, and all of a sudden, visually, everything is very organized, very formatted.
So the mission takes place with peasants breaking into a palace. The peasants are starving. Inside the palace, the corrupt marquis is having a party. He's feasting. And there's this inequality, and you can really understand that as a player. And that's what we built the whole demo around.
Take care of this, or I will use your head as a piss pot.
So the nice thing is, even though we're spending a ton of time building this beautiful palace and the gardens and everything, we'll actually have that in game. And we have featured actually quite a lot of content which will be shipped in the game in that same location. Friday afternoon, we kind of got the call from Montreal to say, okay, we've cleared our schedules, why don't you and Natai come over? We're going to sit down, go through the entire E3 strategy and figure out how to get our two demos to complement each other, but as well as get your demo down to this 5-minute window. So we flew out Monday morning, spent 2 days in Montreal. We scrubbed through everything at a super detailed level, and we found some really great solutions.
Things can be tweaked. Sometimes additional hard decisions need to be made, but usually the game is pretty much locked. I mean, we know what we're building, we know why we're doing it, we know why we want to show publicly, and then it's a matter of just finishing and then polishing the rest until we feel satisfied with the overall product. And, we're proud to release it.
I wish everything was locked. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we've been working on it for a long time, and that's one of the reasons I think we're going to see a lot of quality in AC Unity, but it's not finished.
Everyone on the team now is super excited that we have a demo, and no one's frustrated that we're trying different things that we know may not go into the full game, because we're already seeing the learning. We're already seeing how every time we iterate, we get better, we get faster.
We're going to work on it until the game ships. And I think you're going to see something at E3 that's going to be amazing, but the final game is going to be even more amazing.
For ACU, we decided to invest a lot in mining. One of the main subjects that we attacked is GI, global illumination, which also includes sky occlusion. So we're looking at the sky dome, and we're baking occlusion at the high precision level, much more precise than it used to be in previous games.
So the world looks completely next gen. I mean, we were never even close to achieving this in any other AC game. Plus, we do it in an open world of that size with seamless interiors with no loading anytime.